morning, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and industry leaders. It's an absolute pleasure and privilege to welcome all of you to the Economic Times' Global Legal Convention Awards 2025. I've been given 10 to 15 minutes, and I wanted to spend my time basically highlighting 3 key legal trends that I think will shape the legal industry in the next 5 or 10 years. I'm going to follow the butterfly approach and quickly flit through these points. First point, in 1990, India made a very important economic decision. In that, it opened itself to foreign investment from outside and private enterprise. Now, this decision led to the opening, it was transformative in some sense to the legal industry itself, right? It opened, this industry basically, there was a growing demand for new laws, regulations, and that in turn led to the creation of a new breed of lawyers, who we call today as corporate lawyers, the elite corporate lawyers and the elite corporate firms. This event changed the way people thought about law as a profession. It changed the way law schools thought about legal education. It changed the way, it changed who applied to these law schools. It changed the way the industry itself shaped, right? Today, we stand at the precipice of another important development that will disrupt the practice of law and portend the end of lawyering as we know it: technology and AI. The global legal tech market was valued at approximately $29.54 billion US in 2023, and is expected to reach $63 billion in 2032. A recent study conducted on 4 legal AI tools across 7 legal tasks clearly indicated that these tools are here to stay, that they're important for they have value for lawyers as well as law firms, and there's, of course, scope for improvement. I'm just going to spend some time on talking about these tools, right? So there are 4 tools. The legal task that these tools were evaluated on was data extraction, document Q&A, document summarization, redlining, transcript analysis, chronology generation, and EDGAR. EDGAR is SEC's legal database, right? So EDGAR research. Of these tasks, EDGAR research was considered the most complex. And the human lawyer baseline for this particular task was 70.1%. One of these AI tools performed at 55.2%. That clearly demonstrates to us that these AI tools have some value for both lawyers and law firms, are here to stay. And of course, we're at a very nascent stage, I think, at the development of AI and the use of AI in the legal space as such. So there's a lot of scope for improvement. But the point is, this data and statistics points to the fact that AI is here to stay. AI's increasing capabilities will soon fuel a demand for tech-enabled lawyers, just like the new elite corporate lawyers that spun off of the 1990 economic decision. There's going to be a new demand for tech-enabled lawyers. The legal community will need to find ways to adapt to these developments if they want to remain competitive. I'll put this point to rest with a quote from one of my favorite books and an online series, A Gentleman in Moscow. If one does not master one's circumstances, one is bound to be mastered by them. I don't think there's any merit in fighting this wave. I think we'll all have to embrace it and move on. The second point I wanted to touch upon was the sporadic increase in disputes. India is all set to be a developed country by 2047. As businesses grow and new businesses emerge, the law will have to follow innovation. There's going to be new laws, there's going to be increased scrutiny, regulatory scrutiny, and compliance requirements. As businesses get complex and mature, there's likely to be, natural progression is there's likely to be an uptick in disputes as well. I just want to present one data point at this time. As of January 2025, approximately 59 million cases were found pending in various courts across India. What does this data indicate? It indicates that we need to start thinking about our justice system a little differently. We need to start having effective mechanisms to resolve disputes. I am from the venture capital industry, so I have one data point I want to bring out here. And of course, there's very little study and research on effectiveness of the justice system in India, so I don't have a lot of data points. But in India, approximately 15% of all PE exits in India between 2018 and 2022 were disputed. And the average span that it took to resolve these disputes is 4.7 years, sometimes even spanning over decades. To me, on the face of it, this data is compelling reason to create a completely different commercial justice system in the form of fast-track courts that are equipped with technology that can resolve high-value commercial disputes. You know, it's not a noble thought that I'm putting out here. This is something that the government recognized and worked towards sometime during 2014, I think. So I'll briefly set out the history of how this started, how commercial courts developed in India, and why it stopped, and why there is a need for us to, start focusing on developing these courts again, a separate commercial justice system. So in 2003, the chairman of the Law Commission of India wrote to the then law minister, expressly mentioning that in order to maintain and accelerate economic growth, both domestic and foreign investors must be given a clear assurance that they'll have access to faster forums to resolve commercial disputes. In 2014, the World Bank came out with its Ease of Doing Business survey and ranking. One of the key parameters of this ranking and survey was the effectiveness of your justice system, the enforcement of contracts. And in 2014, the Indian government set up a vision to basically improve India's ranking in these in this ease of doing business ranking, right? India was at that time at 142nd position, and the vision was to make it 50. Now, in order to drive that vision, in the commercial, this vision actually, and the ambition to drive this vision actually led to the development of the Commercial Courts Act 2015, that led to the creation of commercial courts. Unfortunately, this this survey or this ranking was limited to 2 cities, Delhi and Bombay. And most of the commercial courts and the development of commercial courts happened in these 2 cities. And in 2021, the World Bank discontinued its ranking and survey, citing some anomalies in data. Statistics indicate that the number of cases pending before commercial courts have increased since the time this survey and this ranking stopped. Today, I think there's a clear commercial justification clear economic justification for setting up separate commercial courts, because commerce is at the heart of the economy, right? I want to end this point by a quote, a chapter that I read in the Oxford University's analysis of legal profession in the US. One of my favorite chapters in that research paper was titled "Too Much Law, Too Little Justice, Too Much Rhetoric, Too Little Reforms." I think this is exactly the kind of situation we need to avoid. And this will require efforts from the industry, from the government, from everybody to collectively work towards setting up a separate commercial justice system, which is led by commercial courts that will deal with high-value transactions. We started off well, we made some progress, but somewhere we lost steam. And we should rethink that. Because we can't, if you want commerce to thrive, if you want the economy to continue the way it's continuing, and if you want to become a developed country, one of the key parameters is to fix this issue. The third key trend I wanted to focus on was the rise of the new in-house legal teams, the rise in in-house legal teams and the new age GC. 2022 was an important year for all of us. It set a lot of trends. First of all, ChatGPT came into existence. It changed the way we thought of life. We thought of writing speeches. In some ways, maybe even lawyering, right? It was also the year in which 1 in 5 lawyers moved in-house. Again, the data on this is very sparse, but I was talking to one of my friends who's in the legal recruitment space, and he was telling me that in 2022, his business was 10:90, which means 10% of his business came from hiring lawyers for in-house roles, 90% came from law firms. Today, that has quickly and rapidly changed to 60-40. 60% of the revenue is coming from in-house hiring for in-house positions, and 40% is coming from law firms. Why this change? This change is happening because as economy grows, the business grows, they're going to get complex regulations, there's going to be increased scrutiny on businesses. There's going to be a focus on risk management and governance as businesses mature. And that's one of the key reasons for the demand for in-house counsels. The in-house counsel practice is set to be the fastest growing sector in the legal industry or the legal profession as such. Mary Smith, the president of American Bar Association, said, "Some people think of lawyers as people who manage risks. We certainly do that, but I think that sells us short. As lawyers, we are problem solvers." Problem solving is going to become the key skill set that's required of the next age in-house counsels and GCs. In the backdrop of this discussion, I also think that GCs and in-house counsels are going to emerge as people who are going to be at the forefront of leading innovation from a legal perspective, innovation and development of laws from a legal perspective in their respective industries. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg of the US Supreme Court remarked, "A lawyer will gain large satisfaction when he or she is not simply a fee-charging artisan, but a contributor to the public good." I think this is very important, and this is not just applicable to our colleagues in the law firm. I think in-house counsels can think of it, change the approach, and be the key representatives of their respective businesses and the key drivers to change the way work with regulators to change some of the laws that are hindering development on this front. Finally, I think I want to talk about an issue that is not spoken of very often in the legal community, but I think that requires some attention. It's to do with the mental health for lawyers. There's a lot of stigma associated with it, at least in India, so there's very sparse data and statistics available today from an Indian context. But I just wanted to put out two key statistics that will help us probably change the way we think about this topic. One is, there's a Johns Hopkins University study it's very dated, but that research found that lawyers are 3.6 times more likely to suffer from depression compared to other professionals. A 2021 Bloomberg survey found that at least 52% lawyers experience burnout. I think if you think about it enough, the statistics and data is out there, maybe not in the Indian context, but it's something for us to think of and work collectively towards bettering the environments for our colleagues and for the legal industry in general. On that note, and on a very optimistic level, with a very optimistic view, I want to end my speech with a passage from Bob Dylan's famous song, "The Times Are A-Changing." I want to just read out a few lines of the lyrics, which I think is very important from our context. It reads like this: "Come gather around people wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown. And accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone. For the times, they are a-changing." Thank you, and with that, let the convention begin.